I was riding my bike at a pretty good speed when it happened. I had been training for a 100-mile bike ride that I was very much looking forward to when my front tire hit a lip in the curb, and before I knew it, I was laying there on the pavement in serious pain. Hours later, I would go through surgery to repair a broken hip and would spend the better part of the next 2 months rehabilitating. Everything I was hoping for, everything I was working so hard for had changed in an instant, and I was angry. Confined to my bed, unable to function like before, I started to become cynical, full of self-pity. But it was during this season that God began to stir in my heart in a pretty profound way. Well, today we're going to spend some time in Paul's first letter to the Christian community in Thessalonica. The Thessalonian church was experiencing persecution, affliction, and hardship. And Paul, unable to visit them, wrote them a letter to encourage them. And we pick it up at chapter 5, verse 16. This is what it says. Rejoice always. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances. For this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Paul encourages the Thessalonians to do something that at first seems impossible. They had experienced the goodness of the gospel, and shortly thereafter, things didn't go as expected. Things got really hard for these young Christians. In light of this situation, Paul says to them, rejoice always. Surprising words coming from someone who had experienced so much suffering in his life. A surprising command to a people that were hurting. Does this mean that they were to walk around always with a smile on their faces? Fake it till you make it, if you will. No, what we're talking about here is much deeper than any emotion. Something that carries us through the ups and the downs of life. This joy is based on Jesus Christ, who he is and what he has done for you personally. Next, Paul says, pray continually. This doesn't mean you have to pray every minute of every day. Instead, you get to experience a vibrant prayer practice, to regularly pray so that it is a natural rhythm throughout your day, your week, your life. Lastly, he says, give thanks in all circumstances. Be thankful in every circumstance. So right now, in the middle of a pandemic, when the economy is faltering, when things seem to be falling apart all around us, now there's a difference between being thankful for all circumstances and being thankful in all circumstances. We aren't thankful for the death and the destruction caused by the reality of living in a broken world. But in the midst of it all, we are a grateful people. The only way we rejoice always, pray unceasingly, and continually give thanks is focusing on the one thing that doesn't change. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is King. Jesus is returning. All of creation will be restored. We will be with him forever. Daily go back to the good news of what Jesus has done for you. Daily remember that he claimed you as his own in your baptism. Because you are in Christ and his Spirit is in you, joy is possible. While laying in my bed recovering from that accident, a friend shared with me this very passage. Through it, God began to teach me contentment, to show me all of the blessings that I had been given. Even while I was stuck in my bed, my prayer life flourished. I began to look for ways to express that gratitude, joy, and prayer to God and to others. I'm sure that none of us expected 2020 to turn out the way that it has. It can be easy to become cynical and full of self-pity. But that isn't who God has called us to be in Christ Jesus. You see, I think cynicism and self-pity, they rob us of a joy-filled life. Because Jesus is Lord, even in chaotic circumstances, we have a purpose for today. Start with what you've been given, with the things that are unshakable realities because of the promises of God, and then go from there. Each day, we get to live spirit-filled lives that are marked with joy, prayer, and gratitude.